saying
Well, okay, let's do really fair.
it.
No, they can't. Two applications. Two applications.
True.
In the books, yes, but two applications. You don't discriminate if they're married or not married, and then maybe they're just partners, or maybe they're brother and sister, or whatever. It's two applications. Are they refundable? No, you don't have to refund. Okay, what questions can you ask on a rental application? Tell me. Not really. Not on a rental application. Yes, you can ask how much money they're gonna put, what they make, and things like that. You're gonna get that from a credit report.
Social Security.
Social Security number, yep.
Birthday.
Birthday, oops. What is your monthly income? That's your pay stubs, whatever you come up with. When do you need it? Gotta know when they need it, right? You gotta know what their rental history is. Can you ask what their rental history is? Can you follow up on that? Call their previous landlords? Absolutely. Have they been convicted of a crime? Can you ask that? Yes. What's the key word in that statement? Convicted. It's not arrested. It's convicted of a crime. You can't ask that. And what's the previous address, things like that. What can you not ask?
Fair house.
Okay, like
Religion.
religion, okay?
Sexual orientation.
Yeah, you can't ask if they're married. Doesn't matter. There's nothing in Missouri that says they can't live together if they're not. You can't ask if they have children. Although if they have children, do they have to put them on the rental app? Yes, and they're occupants. They're not legal tenants. They're occupants because they're probably under the age of 18. In St. Louis, there's one you can't ask. And what does everybody ask in St. Louis?
Oh, where you went to high school?
Where you went to school? And I'm not from here. I still don't know what that means. But obviously everybody else does, but you can't ask that. Okay? Are there certain, oh, we just talked about the certain questions we can't ask. Is there an age requirement? 18 years old. They cannot legally sign a contract unless they're 18 years old. Okay, state of Missouri. Screening process. What do you use? If you have rental property, what do you use for your screening process?
Screening company.
The best is a third-party screening company, I have to tell you, because they have all the metrics and everything to do it, and it's not that much money, really.
They'll charge the tenant.
And the tenant will pay for that, that's correct, the resident will pay. So you can use, if you do it yourself, you can call on rental history back in the covered wagon days when I was on site at apartment communities. We called on, where did they live? We called their previous place they lived, and we checked pay stubs, and we did all of that. You can hire a company to do that. And honestly, I would suggest you do that. And the reason is it takes you out of the limelight, so to speak. It takes you out of the decision making. Follow what they said. You set the guidelines, you follow. Keeps you out of trouble. Can the landlord charge for the cost of screening?
Yes.
Yes. And you don't have to give it back. When is an occupancy permit required?
When the municipality asks for it.
That's right. It's by municipality. That's exactly right. Baldwin, single family home, apartments, whatever, they require an occupancy permit. Chesterfield does not. So you have to go and find out. And I will tell you, they're getting more and more expensive every day. Some of them are up to $75, $100 for an inspection and a re-inspection. So that you can pass along. That's something you need to pass along to your tenant, is how much if you need an occupancy permit. Don't think you can get away without doing it, but they'll catch you. They go through electric. So they're gonna catch you if you try to do that. But it just depends on where you are. More and more cities are coming up with occupancy permits because they want the money. I mean, let's face facts, they want the money. Okay. Security deposit. Does Missouri have specific security deposit requirements? Okay, what are they? 2 months rent? Okay, that's the most you can charge. Do you have to hold it in a separate account? Actually, not by law. Generally by you and or the owners or whatever, you probably do want to hold it in a separate account because it's not your money. Yes,
But if you're a realtor, they have a law that says you have. to.
okay,
So I don't know who you want to talk about. Yes
There you
and
go.
no- Yes and no is right.
yeah, okay. Do you have to pay interest on security deposits?
No.
Anybody own property in Illinois? Illinois, you have to pay interest. And let me tell you, at 0.02% or whatever the interest rate was, you give them, you have to do the calculations and you have to give it to them at the end of the year. Yep, every year, you have to give them interest on security deposits. That's just something that it's a pain, honestly. You don't give them any money, really. It's just a pain for the calculate.
Question. So then you're obligated to give them a 1099 rent, which costs you more money. Correct?
I don't think it meets the dollar qualifications.
Thought it was $10.
Well, I didn't give anybody $10.
Oh.
I know. Well, if the security deposit is $250, you're gonna have to work to get to $10. How long do you have to return it if they move out? 30 days. What can they do if you don't return it within 30 days? They can demand double. Now, I will tell you, the court is very lenient on that. If you make a valiant effort, so to speak, and you mail it to them before the 30 days, they just haven't received it, it's okay. They're not gonna do that. They're not gonna, I'm sure people will try to get 2 times, but I don't think they'll be successful in that. I just put, can security deposit be put into the landlord's general bank fund? If you're a real estate agent, I guess not. Does law say we did in the apartment business because we put everything in a single operating account? You just have to make sure you have it.
You practice it.
We had a building of 66 units burned down in Columbia. Or burned up, I guess I should say, in Columbia. And we had to have that money available within 24 hours to give everybody all their money back. So they could not reoccupy it. We had to redo it. So you've got to have the money, you can't spend it.
Why is it 24 hours?
Well, we did the 24 hours because we wanted to give them, they needed a place to live and we couldn't provide that for them. So we wanted to give them money to go find someplace else.
No, it's self-imposed.
Yeah,
That's nice.
that's a company, was a company policy.
That was nice.
Can a landlord withhold some or all of the security deposit upon move out? Yep. You do have to have documentation. That's where I say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Pictures are everything. You know, because people will tell you you're wrong. They'll say, no, it was that way when I moved in. You all do move-in inspections? Do you have a form? Okay, does everybody do it?
No.
Okay, no, that was what we found. Here's an idea. This is not on this, and take it for what it's worth. What we ended up doing was we had 2 move-in checklists. One they signed blank that we kept in the office when they moved in. The second one we gave to them and asked them to return it. If they didn't return the second one with something on it, the first one was always there with nothing on it. Hey, you know, of course, back in the old days, we used to hold the mailbox key. That's not legal, but we did it. Till you get your move-in checklist back. So, you can't do that now, probably.
Can you walk with the move-in inspection? I guess you can walk the property with the new tenant and then have them sign it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the preferred way to do it. That's not always possible. probably more so on your end with single family. But when you get into more multifamily and stuff, it's not always possible to walk with everybody. So that's why we keep the blank moving technically. Rental agreement, do they have to be in writing in Missouri? Well, that's partially true. They have to be in writing only if they're 12 months or more. Anything less than 12 months does not have to be by law in writing. I would never do an agreement without it being in writing. But by law, it's not required if it's under 12 months. So that's why, again, we're going back to the landlord friendly state. What needs to be included in a rental agreement to make it legally binding? There are just 5 or 6 things that have to be there. Start, stop, amount, address, that's right. Signature of both parties. Yep, signature of both parties.
So this table gets a.
You get a prize. I'm not sure what it is, but you get one. What else? Anything else? If you're smart rental agent or you rent property, you're gonna have some type of, a book of, or a
Oh,
lease
you
that's
talking about-
along.
Yeah, you gotta have a lease, lead,
If it is 78 or before, you must have a lead addendum.
yeah, lead in them.
Yep.
And then also a fire alarm, how to use a fire alarm.
Oh, really? Now, we don't have that.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's required by Missouri, I will tell you. And the
You
lead
just do it.
addendum
Yeah,
is required. The other one is if you were before 78, you gotta have what else? An asbestos addendum. You don't have that. You should do that. Remember, we stopped using asbestos in most multifamily and or single family in 1978 to 81,
it was lead too,
huh?
lead.
Yeah, lead paint. You know, why is lead paint dangerous? Why does kids eat lead paint?
Sweet.
It's sweet. It's sweet. I don't know why, but that's the reason. I don't know why somebody wants their kids to eat paint. But that's just me. I don't have children. Asbestos, bad deal. Very expensive deal. If you have asbestos and something happens, it's fine as long as you don't disturb it. If you disturb it, then you, unless you are a licensed contractor to do that type of abatement work, you can't touch it. So be careful about that. So what needs to be? Name of all parties, dates of tenancy, rental amount, security deposit and fees if you have them, rental terms, and signatures of all parties. So you must have at least those, what is it, 6 things? 6 things on a rental agreement in order to make it valid.
What did you say about keys?
I didn't say anything about keys. You wanna know about keys?
No, I thought I heard.
Oh, no.
keys.
But we can talk about keys.
I don't care.
Is there a requirement to change the locks when somebody moves out? By Missouri law,
Not by law.
it is not. You don't have to change the keys. I would never advise you renting something and not changing out the locks. Please don't. You know, that's one of the big ones in multifamily. You know, worker that has keys to everything, or you master keys, please don't use master keys. High license. Because if somebody has it, they're disgruntled. If you think the key says do not duplicate, do you think you can duplicate it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Home Depot duplicated. Done it. So they can get into anybody's apartment or anything if you have master. Next one. Do you have to, are grace periods required? Do you give grace periods on anything that you rent? You know what a grace period is, right? Get it on all your bills late on the 1st, but you got till the 16th to pay or something. Yes.
5 days.
Okay, 5 days. Anybody else? Okay, I would say right now that's pretty long. It used to be very, very common. Now we're down to 2 or 3 days grace period. You don't have to give a grace period.
Right.
So, you know, the shorter the grace period, I hate to say this, the quicker you can get them into eviction if they don't pay. Just be honest, that's the truth of it all. But you have to give the 10-day notice, and then you have to follow it up, and you'll be into the next month if you give them too long of a grace period, especially with our court system, which it is today. Because they're always behind. And people have learned how to work the system to stay, so. So no, you're not required. I would say the average is probably 3 days. Your time. Does Missouri have limits on how much you can charge for late fees? Nope, but I tell you, the court does. Because when you start charging a lot for late fees, they'll just back them off. Now, I would charge them and move on. How do you charge your late fees?
Additional rent.
Okay, additional rent meaning? What does that mean?
So
Well, that's,
we just use that term instead of a late fee, they're charged additional rent for not paying on time.
Missouri Realtors changed all their forms.
Okay,
So Missouri Realtor rental agreement doesn't have late fees anymore, because if you go to court and you say, hey, I'm kicking somebody out, and I've got, this is what they owe rent, this is what they owe in late fees. Often, the judge will say, those late fees are harsh, take them out. So now all the Missouri Realtor forms say additional rent. So now I go to court and say, well, they owe, you know, maybe it's $1,000 a month and there's 200 in late fees.
okay,
Now they owe 1,200 for rent.
okay. That's fine. Yeah, courts can back some of that off. And they do sometimes. It depends on who you get for a judge. It's all about the person you get for a judge.
Yeah.
That's or who your attorney is possibly in combination with. I would suggest though, if you do something that you don't just do it on a one-time fee, I'm just gonna make this up. If your rent is late, we charge $100 on the 5th additional. If that's all you charge and you never charge anything else in the month, why would they pay? Why would I pay? If I'm late, I'm paying $100. Why would I pay before the 30th of the month? Think about that when you're doing it, because there are ways to encourage people to pay, and one of them is to give them additional fees as you go along. So you may charge $100 on the 5th, but then you charge another $75 on the 10th, or something like that, to try to encourage them to pay, because you want them to pay. If you don't do that, you're kind of messed yourself up, because you've really given them 30 days to pay. Can a resident withhold rent?
Yes.
Yes. What do they have to do though?
Gotta escrow it and prove that it needed repair.
Right, you have to escrow. Do you know what Missouri law says about repairs? How long do you have to make repairs? Well, reasonable, but it says 14 days, which I think is way too long. You're trying to keep your tenant happy, but that is the law to remedy the situation.
If you're not able to, is it like you gave the example of the building catching on fire?
Uh-huh.
So, you know, you pay those people their money back on the city for their deposit.
Give them the deposit actually and the month's rent. It was in the middle of the month. We just gave them their whole month's rent. That was just us.
And then that was pretty much it.
Well, it was inhabitable, so you don't have a choice. It says in the lease that we have to provide a habitable place to live. So, yeah.
I ran into a situation, with the house I had with a sewer lateral flat. And, I told the tenant that due to this circumstance, because this is gonna have, like, the repair was not gonna happen.
Right.
Whatever, that I needed to terminate the lease. And I was getting a bad person period of time, didn't have to worry about, to the next one. And she still was just like, like,
You can go to an attorney and solve that.
okay.
Because they cannot live in an uninhabitable place. And I would say if their sewer backing up, it's uninhabitable.
Yeah, But they called the county, enforcing on,
And what did they say?
and they basically like condemned.
Yeah, well, then you got your answer. If they condemned it, you're probably even better off. You don't have to go get it. That takes care of the situation. Yes, sir.
What if the tenant calls the issue? And, you still have 14 days? What if the tenant calls the issue? Do you still have 14 days? I mean, if it's not normal wear and tear on the property, and the tenant said they broke something, and do you still have 14 days to do it, or do they, you need to make them pay it? Or?
I would make them pay it. Do you still have 14 days? Yes, but put a big but on that. I think 14 days is too long. I mean, if they broke their dishwasher, I don't know, or whatever. You need to get one that works and put it in there. You can charge them for it, absolutely. But you might have a little problem if you wait 14 days to do it. That's just personal. We did everything 24, 48 hours. That's just good customer service, honestly. And that's what business, in the apartment business, we were in. Okay. Any other questions about that? We're gonna move on to fair housing. We all know about fair housing.
And a question,
Yes, sir.
what's your standard operating procedure as far as when do you go to move your tenants out? Evict them?
When they don't pay rent,
Yeah.
or they have a material breach of lease, which could be they've been involved in a crime and we want to get them out, or they have people visiting them that they can't control and we want to get them out, whatever the case may be. You can do, that's harder. Rent is the easy way to get them out.
So you have a standard number of days that you allow them to not pay.
They have to pay every month.
So basically.
Basically, on the
30 days?
fifth of the day, not 30 days, let's say our grace period is 3 days. After that, we will send them the 10-day and we will start the court proceeding.
So basically about 13 days then.
Yeah, but you gotta realize it probably sit and wait for a court date for 2 weeks.
Right.
So hopefully within 30 to 45 days, you get them out.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
I've heard some horror stories about renters.
Okay. You wanna hear some more?
I'm sure we can all fill up the night of horror stories. So do you know of any strategies to kind of put yourself in the most control possible when going to evict someone that you are afraid that they will do damage to the property?
That's a hard one. I mean, we did everything through the attorney. Go ahead.
One thought is you can pay them sometime, bribe them.
Yeah, bribe them to leave.
Just, we'll pay you so much if you move out. They got to go somewhere and if you say, hey, I'll give you your 35 back and an extra X amount of dollars for moving fees, whatever, help them out. That's one strategy, in the long run, it might be better off. Because they may tend to move quicker and cause less damage, but you're giving them plus. Just a thought.
We call cash for keys, right?
Yeah,
cash
that's
for
exactly.
keys.
Cash for. Yes, sir.
I was gonna say, about cars, but I know probably gonna move on. But I had a contractor working on one of my properties, and he moved his family in while he was working.
Nice.
And when that was done, I had 54 months to get him out.
Yep. So there's
I
water.
ended up paying him money. So I was, just kind of saying.
A lot of apartments did that during COVID. People weren't paying their rent and they would pay them. So they could find somebody that would pay their rent. They had to pay their mortgage. That didn't stop because it was COVID. But a lot of the rental payments did. So, yeah. Yes, sir.
We got one here. Oh, yeah, online.
He wants to know if the tenant moves out and their mail's accumulating in the box, is the landlord responsible to redirect it? What should be done with the mail?
No,
No.
they're not. You can put do not live there. I mean, I don't know what they do right now, but we used to give them tags when people moved out, and they would put the new tag in the mailbox. Like a, what is it, tape that you know, yeah, the vacant unit. So you do not have to redirect. And you only have to send their security deposit to the last known address. They don't give you a forwarding address, you send it to their apartment address. I mean, how would you, you're not responsible for going on the internet to try to find out where they're living now. So you just send it to the apartment. If they haven't forwarded, they may never get it. It's not your problem. I mean, I would hold on to the check for a while when you get the mail back. But, yeah. Yes, sir.
If you ask the post office, they'll tell you, you gotta do a lot of stuff. But in reality, we just put it on return to sender no longer at this address.
And you can, most of our mail guys, of course, we have big banks of, you know, mailboxes. But we'll just, you know, we tell them they don't live there and they'll take it. They won't bring it
Yes. Now, before you jump on the eviction.
back. Okay,
Don't you talk to your tenants and have a dialogue with them?
if they will talk,
Okay.
most of them won't. Honestly, you know, they, unfortunately, sometimes people just don't have the money. And, you know, this is a hard time of year. What do they choose to do? Pay their rent or buy a Christmas present?
Christmas presents.
Yeah, exactly.
Priorities.
But, you know, sometimes things will catch back up in the spring when they get their taxes back. We do allow, some people allow payment plans. If you do allow a payment plan that lets somebody get caught up, make them put money down when you sign the payment plan. Make them have a stake in the payment plan. Don't just have them sign a piece of paper that says they're gonna pay back X amount of dollars every month. Make them put money down with that. So they have skin in the game, so to speak. Anybody can sign a piece of paper.
Say, you want to take that as option. I've got a place to make it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, anything else before I move on to fair housing real quick? Okay, so obviously all of the people in here fall into one of those categories. Whether it's landlords, property owners, managers, developers, real estate agents, mortgage lenders and brokers, homeowners associations, insurance providers, and anyone else who can impact the housing opportunities. So we're all affected by fair housing. We all live by fair housing. And if you don't, you should, because people are getting very wise these days. They're filing them. We know in 1968, the Federal Fair Housing Act, they came up with all of these: race, sex, color, religion, sex by executive order, and gender identity, sexual orientation were added to that by executive order. Handicap, which is a disability, we don't really call them handicap anymore, but that's still in the law. Familial status and national origin. You cannot discriminate based on any of those. Okay, I always said how I remembered them, and gosh, this was 30 years ago. I still remember. Realtors can really sell houses fast now. That's how I remember. That will go through there. And you'll remember all of them, because I can't remember them all. And I lived it. So there are exemptions to that, and some of you may fall in that exemption. If a dwelling has 4 or fewer units and the owner lives in one of the units, you are not bound by fair housing. You do not have to abide by fair housing. You can choose anyone you want to live there. If you say, I don't want somebody that has a beard, that's okay, because you don't have enough to qualify for fair housing. Any single family housing that's sold or rented without the use of a broker is exempt from FHA as long as the owner is a private individual who doesn't own more than 3 such homes at one time. So if you own a couple of rentals and you're not using a broker, you would be exempt from fair. Okay. Housing communities for the elderly are also exempt from fair housing in most cases. If you have senior living, they can discriminate, right? 55 and older, or if it's assisted living, sometimes you have to qualify to be in that assisted living. So if you're looking at fair housing, they may say that it's discriminatory, but it's not, because senior housing is segmented out of that. they're not the same.
Oh,
Anything else? Any questions? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Say I have, two. So you said, if you don't own, sorry, so you said if you don't own more than 3 homes, then it doesn't.
And the owner, 4 units, the owner lives in one.
Or you can,
So if you have a fourplex and you live in one of them, you can rent whoever you want.
right, but the 3 home rule here, so if you have like a business that only has 3 houses in it, but you have another business that has 3, I guess. I'm
Doesn't
confused.
go, you
That-
can't,
so that's
oh,
not-
sorry,
Okay, cause,
you gotta add them all up.
okay.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
I just don't want you to get in trouble. Nice thought, though, nice thought. Yes, sir.
So about familial status, St. Louis City has a law on the books that you can't rent. In, I don't know, maybe somebody can help me out, but the law basically says no more than 3 unrelated parties can live in a house. So they don't want roommates in a house. They actually have that law on the books and have used it against us. So we just sold the house. It was the easiest thing to do.
I mean, that's not in Missouri state law. That's your city law.
Right,
Or
that's the city law, but it
whatever.
seems to me like that violates familial status. I mean,
Well, somebody could take them to court over it, they might lose.
you haven't run into it. Well,
I haven't run into it.
It wasn't
but-
gonna be me, so.
Yeah, exactly, I know.
yeah, I heard they shut that down for that exact reason.
Really?
Yes.
Well, Valley Park used to require us to give them copies of driver's license when we went for occupancy permits. Because they wanted to see who's living here, that is not legal. They got busted bad. It's just not legal. What? They can't say, I'm not gonna give you an occupancy permit because I don't approve of this person living there, looking at their picture on their driver's license. So. I mean, that's just not legal. And it shouldn't be legal. It's not our place. I mean, if you own a fourplex and that's all you own, okay, do what you want. But when you own a lot of them, that's just not what we want to do. Any questions on this, the exemption?
Question, did you mention the source of income? Say no, like if it's SSIA, that's gotta be counted as income.
Yes, it does have to be counted.
Yeah, I know that,
I didn't say that. Did I say that? No. Sources of income, what can you count, what can't you count? Basically, it's kind of all up. You need to count everything. Anybody do low income housing rentals in here? I'm not as familiar, I will say I've never worked in the HUD environment, that type of thing. But, you know, you're gonna count whatever they get as income.
yes, so, I mean, they used to say, we don't do section 8.
Can't do that anymore.
Right.
But you can, your complex or your apartment must qualify to be in the Section 8 program. It's your rental rate that's going to, if you don't want to have low income housing, that's gonna be your Section 8 savior. Because they can only rent it so much a month is what they get allotted. And when your rent's way over that, you're not gonna be eligible. But you can't say no.
They pay a lot to them.
Do they? Okay.
So that's the thing, when they call up and say, do you accept section 8? So, and let's say you have places that are fairly expensive. What do you say?
I always say, we rent to anyone that qualifies and wants to live. That's pretty broad. That's what we do. And that takes a lot of times, again, if you have expensive homes and or apartments and or whatever, condos, they probably won't qualify.
I mean, before you get excited about section 8, besides I think they're okay, but the bottom line is, if you say, until you have signed up and have been accepted by yours also, we're gonna keep showing this, so you rent it to somebody else.
First come, first serve.
So, covered. because otherwise you're gonna be biased against the other.
I mean, yeah, unless they put a deposit down on it. You gotta keep showing them.
Can't you say you just don't qualify for section?
No. You have to go through the process. Not for you to say, it's for, what is it, MNA, what is it? MHC? Whatever it is, the housing organization of HUD, to say they don't qualify. They have qualified restrictions. You know, what do you qualify for, how much, what are you getting, how much you have to pay and all of that.
Yeah, but don't your house has to qualify, it has to meet certain standards.
Yeah, but they're not that difficult to meet. I mean, if you're gonna wanna meet, if they come and do an inspection, you're gonna want your house to be.
So the bottom
Qualified
line
to
is
be
you
there.
can't say that you don't qualify.
Not anymore, we used to do it all the time,
Yeah,
just can't do it anymore. Kind of like adult and family apartments, that used to be a thing. Do you remember that? Where you could have an all adult community, which I worked at, which is great. Or you could have a family community, family pool, adult pool. Can't do that. Anymore. Yes, sir.
I thought it was the tenant that was qualifying for something. Not the
It is, but
building.
they have, but let's just say it's $1,000 and they only get 400 from HUD or whoever the city or the county, whatever, wherever they're getting their section 8 from. They have to pay 600. They have to qualify on that $600. And they, I'm sure, because generally we did 3 times the rent. I doubt that they would qualify. That's how you qualify.
This is probably a dumb question, but is there a difference between that and vouchers? I get a lot of people calling you.
Section 8 is vouchers. You're not gonna have a HAP contract. We had several properties that had true HAP contracts where it was government and we didn't take vouchers. It was just a contract with NMHC, I think it is. But yeah,
The house does also have to qualify, like when they come out and do the inspection.
yeah, but you want your,
Yeah, you do.
I mean,
Some
the
people-
biggest thing they find are windows and doors that don't work. That's the biggest thing they find. Some outlets that don't work. That's pretty much, I mean, that's what we ran into.
When you have a good, because I've seen people with long lists.
Really? I mean, it's okay they come out doing inspection.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
is there an extra number of people per bedroom?
It is 2 per bedroom. Now, it also can go with square footage, depending on square footage, but as a rule, it's about 2 per bedroom. Yeah, square footage does play into, especially if you're on a low income. If you're taking government money, they may have different regulations. But in Missouri, at least from the apartment side, it's 2 per bedroom.
I thought St. Louis County had to be a certain square foot.
It might,
And I don't know, also maybe you have to have a closet on that.
well, to qualify for a bedroom, it must have an egress, 2 egress and a closet. That's correct. Is that way? Hopefully they're all 75 square.
I thought St. Louis County had it for occupancy.
St. Louis City doesn't require that you have to have a closet.
St. Louis City does that.
Most of them, I mean, we couldn't count a bedroom to advertise unless it had a closet and an egress. Other than just the door into the apartment, just a closet. It had to have an outside window or something you could climb out of if something happened. Yes, ma'am.
I've had inspectors, and they say I have a 3-bedroom house, and they said, okay, 6 occupants, and say, no, 5, one of your bedrooms is too small for 2.
And that may be, that'd be really small.
Yeah, I think it's something like 80.
She said 75 square feet.
75.
That's not very big. That's like a closet.
I think the real number is 70 and 120,
Okay,
and 120 for 2 and 70 for 1. Then people say, well, I can have 70 square foot with bunk beds in them.
Yeah.
Can't live with it.
yeah. Well, it's kind of like living in a basement. You rent homes with basements. You should have something in your lease that says they cannot use that as a living area, like a bedroom. If it's not a walkout and it does not have egress out of a window, because the basement windows are like this, maybe. But you can't get out. Is that what it is? But you gotta have something where they can get out.
It's gotta be egress rated.
Yep.
So a fireman can get in there with this tank on. I forgot the exact dimensions, but.
Yeah.
You go to put. Cut out the concrete, what a lot of homes are doing now, they're cutting out the basement wall.
And my neighbor do that.
And putting in a egress rated window.
Yep.
So they could rate the basement
To live in.
bedroom as a bedroom and then, you
Yep.
know.
But most rental houses are not gonna do that, but if you don't have a walkout, you should have something that says, if they sign the agreement, they can't live down there. Now, does that mean they're not going to? Absolutely not. But you've protected yourself if something happens to them, if you have them in your lease, at least partially protecting yourself. Because that's kind of what it's all about, protecting yourself from getting sued. Okay. According to fair housing, an individual has a disability if he or she has a mental condition or physical condition that substantially limits one or more than one major life activity. They are not limited to, but include physical, visual, hearing, or mobility impairments. Alcoholism is covered under fair housing. Mental illness, AIDS and or AIDS related since 1998, and as Lloyd said earlier, hoarding as of 2001 or something, 2013, I'm sorry, 2013. So you cannot discriminate based on that. Can you ask them what their disability is? No. But, go ahead.
On hoarding. That is the safety hazard.
Well, we're gonna get there. So hang on to your thoughts there. We're gonna get there. Trust me, I don't like hoarding any better than anybody else. My husband's a hoarder.
Well, you're gonna.
But he doesn't have a mental illness. He's an organized hoarder because he knows where exactly everything. That's called being an electrical engineer.
Oh.
Watch what you say here.
Okay?
Yeah, you got a couple of.
We got a few in the room here.
Uh-huh.
I'm an engineer.
Hey, I know, I feel the pain. So if they are asking you to put things in your house, like grab bars, have you ever had people ask that you put grab bars in? Please make sure that you do it via a contractor, that you don't just have a handyman or someone on your staff do it. Because if they pull it out of the wall, the grab bar is to use to grab and hold on to and keep you from falling. If somebody misses a stud or something and they pull it out of the wall, guess who's liable for their issue when they fall? Have a contractor do it. So that grab bar, we always pay for it. You can charge them for it if you want. Now, if they wanted something bigger, they had to pay. They wanted something bigger as far as a door widened, or they want the carpet removed and put some type of flooring that a wheelchair can roll on. They would have to do it. And then a lot of times, if it were really big, we'd ask them to put money in escrow to put it back when they left. So. You have to get them inside apartment, the home, sorry, live in the apartment, still. Fair housing, you need to get them in the door. After that, they pay for everything inside. If you want them to, we didn't charge for that. Because we could leave them there and that was okay. Also, please take control of the situation. You choose the contractor and do it your way. I would not allow them to bring in a contractor to do it. You be in control of that. Because you want it done right. Who knows who they'll bring. Okay. Reasonable accommodation. Reasonable accommodation. I'll read this here.
Drug addiction also a disability?
You can't evict on that if it's illegal. Yes, illegal drugs. Illegal drugs are not. Drugs are a disability, not illegal. Which obviously marijuana does not fall into the law. in Missouri. A reasonable accommodation is a change, exception, or adjustment to a rule, policy, practice, or service that may be necessary for a person with disabilities to have an equal opportunity to use and enjoy a dwelling, including public and common areas. So you're just making a reasonable accommodation. If it's really expensive, you can't take a second floor unit and say, oh, I want you to put an elevator in there because I'm in a wheelchair and I can't get to the second floor. Now, that's not reasonable. So you don't have to do that. You can say no.
They can do it.
Well, I guess they could. But you don't have to do it. It has to be reasonable. Examples, assigning an accessible parking space for a person with a mobility impairment, handicap. Do you normally, now I don't know if you have these in single family homes because generally you have a garage or something that they pull into a driveway. But if you have more than a couple of units, you may have to assign a parking space for them. Permitting a resident to transfer to a ground floor unit. You have that, if you have multiple units, you may have to allow them to go to the ground floor if they've had, maybe if they lost a leg or something, they can't find steps. That's a reasonable accommodation. Adjusting a rental payment schedule to accommodate when individuals receive income assistance. That's a tough one, honestly, because that almost goes against fair housing. You say you have 3-day grace period, everybody has a 3-day grace period. So can you make accommodations? Yes, you can. That's a hard one. That's up to you. Adding a graph bar, we just talked about that. Permitting an applicant to submit a housing application via different means. Maybe they can't see and maybe they give you the information or they give someone the information to put it in. How many of you do only online applications? I would say that's the way the world's going. Putting online applications makes it easy. Permitting an assistant animal in a no pet building for a person who is deaf, blind, has seizures, or mental disability. Okay, we're going to talk about board animals here in a few minutes. Can you make your house and or building smoke free? Are smokers, do they have to be protected under federal fair housing? No, you can't. And can you kick them out? Can you evict them if they smoke in your apartment? Yes, you can. Or house. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Smokers are not protected yet under federal fair housing. Unless I said yes. Trying to do criminals right now. Let's see how far we get with that. You all allow people that have had felonies, convicted of a felony, to live in your houses, the rental? You say no. Does anybody ever check that?
If it's a child issue. And they have the obligation to not move in, but it's kids if they've been a child abuser.
Oh, you mean sex offender? Yeah.
I think our property manager has something that says it's 2 years or more.
Generally, there are qualifications. That's pretty recent, actually. But, you know, here's the way the federal fair housing law reads. It's not really enforced, and it's never been enforced. But it reads that you should determine if they have a criminal, if they've been convicted of a crime, whether it will cause, could cause undue harm to people living there and or your community. I don't want to be that person that makes that decision. So currently, if you have a third party, you can exclude people with felonies and or whatever for a period of time. Here's my example. You're an 18-year-old gentleman. I'm a 15-year-old girl. We have sex. My parents try rape, and they take you to court and you're convicted of rape. We get married. Does that pose a problem at the property? No. But you're a sex offender. You've been convicted. shoot, you can relieve yourself in public and become a sex offender. So that's a problem. Now, here's a more difficult one. I have a person who's been convicted, you know, what is it, 3 DUIs is a felony charge, I think, 3 or 4. I think it's 3 in Missouri. You had 3 felonies at DUIs, so it's a felony. When I leased apartments, we did not allow felons. But by fair housing, they would say you need to interview that person and see if you think that they cause a problem at your property. Well, you've been sober for 10 years. What do you think? Would you rent to me if I were that person?
Sure.
Okay. You might.
And some of the things that I want to talk to your sponsor too. Are you allowed to ask that?
Yeah, you are. Criminals are not protected, if you want to say that. People who have been convicted of a crime are not. Me, I don't know if I would in an apartment. Too many kids, too many cars parked. What if you relapse and you come in and hit the building, hit the cars, hit the kids? I don't know.
Well, if you drive a car, you got the same risk.
Well, I know.
Be higher.
That's true. But those are the things they want us to decide. I don't want to be that person.
Can you put a clause in the contract if ever, if it's a DUI situation where like, if there's, I guess it'd be hard to put a clause there.
Unfortunately, not only your clauses in your lease are only dealing with the apartment. Okay. Oh, yes, my favorite subject. How many of you watch the show on TV? No? I can't do it. I've watched it once or twice. If you haven't watched it, you should. Just for your gee whiz, it's gross. And it is a mental illness. It really is. People cannot deal with it.
I got a couple neighbors like that.
And they don't think anything about living. So, can you evict them? Yes. Is it harder than it was back before 2013? Yes. Because now it's protected, and you must do things to try to help them get better, so to speak, or help them deal with the problem. And the words they use are sensitive. You have to be sensitive to their hoarding problems. Well, sensitive to me and sensitive to one of you may be totally different. I'm probably not a very sensitive person, so I can probably kick them out. But you have to, you have to work with them. First thing, always do inspections on your rentals at least once a year. If you don't have somebody to do that, you should. Good way to find out unauthorized pets, hoarding conditions, unsanitary, doesn't have to be a hoarder to be unsanitary. Unsanitary conditions, you need to do inspections on your property to make sure it's kept up. Yes, sir.
Can you inspect more than yearly?
You inspect however often you want.
Why is that to give you notice?
You have to, I always gave at least 48 hours. Now, if it's an emergency, you don't have to give notice. But, I don't believe Missouri has a law of what type of notice you have to give. Reasonable, but that's not really, doesn't really tell you anything. Again, I think 2 hours is reasonable. But, you know,
What about the right for quiet enjoyment? Doing inspections.
I don't think, I've never heard the two talked about at the same sentence, honestly. What about quiet enjoyment and doing inspections? I don't think one really correlates with the other. That's just my personal opinion.
But we're not lawyers.
Well, we're not lawyers. But if you do it, I mean, you can do it, you own the building, or someone does. You all own the building, it's your property. You can do an inspection if you want.
Do they have to be present if you give 48 or whatever hours notice, as long as you give notice, they don't have to be there?
No.
And
I'm sorry.
If you, sit in this house right here.
Yeah.
If you pick them out, you get them evicted. Can you charge them for the cleanup?
Will they pay it? Me, I don't.
Just hold their deposit.
Well, if you have that big of a deposit, I don't know what kind of deposit you guys get.
Right, that's not enough.
It's not probably enough to cover that. because you're gonna have to hire somebody to do that. So, measures to avoid, poor sanitation, obviously excessive amounts of belongings, blocking ingress, egress, this is where you can get them. It must be, it is a safety hazard not to have two places of ingress, egress. When you have so much on the floor, you can't get out the patio door. You can't get out windows, things like that. That's where you can call the health department and get them on that as far as, you know, making them clean it up. Sometimes they can't. You're obviously going to have mold growth. It's a fire hazard. But you do have, you can't say, I know I had a person that was a hoarder at a property we managed, and we told her, we'll give you trash bags. If you put one bag of trash outside your door every day, we will come and pick it up. You can no longer do that, because that's telling other people that they are special, so to speak, and you can't do that. So, you know, what we did was, we called their emergency contact. I don't know if you did stuff like that when you rent homes. We might call the police department in every city now, I believe, has a community officer that deals with and will go and visit them and talk to them about their problem. I'm not a mental health person. I don't know really how to talk to people who have a hoarding problem. I want to find somebody who can help them. And generally, every city has someone that's involved that can help at least direct them to the right place. Yes,
It's called a problem property unit,
it's called what?
problem property unit
Okay.
in the city. Each municipality has one. And I work with people like this every day. We use them a lot, and they usually doing this elderly person, there's no income. They're going in and they're, you know,
They'll help them.
they help them, they'll put dumpsters out and hire people to go in and, you know, clean it up for them. So
Problem is, with hoarders, a lot of it's up here. And they just can't get rid of them. They just can't. And I mean, I don't have that problem. Obviously, my husband has that problem. I don't have that problem. But, so when he's gone, guess what I do? He would probably say, yeah, probably. But just make sure you have sympathy for people that are hoarders. They don't do it because they want to do it. They do it because they can't help themselves. You know, when it used to be QVC, now it's Amazon, and people get 25 packages a day, and you go in their apartment, and there's 100 packages that haven't even been opened. That happens. That can be a fire hazard.
Do they have a formal diagnosis of hoarder, or is it just?
I don't know that there, well, I'm not sure there is such a thing as a formal diagnosis, but there might be. I don't know. Oh, you know, it's a hoarder.
I have a psychology background, not general, more educational, but in the latest incarnation of the DSM-5, which is the diagnostic statistic, whatever, there is an official diagnosis
there
of
now?
disorder. It doesn't even have to be attached to like OCD or anything like that. So I mean, I guess they wouldn't have to receive an official diagnosis, but one can be conferred by it.
Yeah, I mean, but you don't have to, if that's not something that's required for you to deal with the hoarding situation, you have a public safety problem. Either they can't get in and out of their apartment because the egress, and or, you know, it's a fire hazard. And it's a health concern. You can call the health department. And they will come out. I don't know if they're quite as nice as the police department is. I might try them first. So they just slap a thing on the door and say, you can't live here anymore. It's not livable. That's not what you want. It's a sign on the door.
Well, it might be, because then if you have a good attorney, you can evict them, and if they don't appeal in 10 days, you
Yeah,
own
that's
everything
true.
inside. Then you get rid of it all.
Just to understand, we never did our own hoarding cleanup. Because I don't know what you're gonna find underneath there. Because understand, when you've never heard from a person or they don't want to let you in to inspect, that's probably a good reason of why they're not doing it. So we try to deal with it and help them out and get them out as we could. And we always hire people to come in. I hate to say it, a company like Blue Sky Restoration, to come in and clean it up. So that they wear the tie-back suits, they're all decked out in their, outfits. So they don't get needles and or whatever else poking them, because you don't know what's down underneath it. And I can guarantee you there's mold and water when you've got that much stuff sitting around. And or animals and or whatever. Okay. Obligations to maintain, residents do have an obligation to maintain a healthy, safe, and sanitary environment. That is probably somewhere in your lease. If it's not, it probably should be. It includes taking measures for sanitation, excessive volume of belongings, blocking ingress, egress, mold growth, and unfortunately, the fuel for fire damage, because obviously things can catch on fire very easily. I had a gentleman that worked I lived in Las Vegas for a while. I had a gentleman that worked for the paper, he was a journalist. He had papers from the last 50 years stacked up all over his apartment. You think that was a fire hazard? Holy smokes. So and he probably wasn't a hoarder because they were all, he wasn't mental hoarder. He just had them all organized, but he kept everything. Just make sure that you try to deal with them. But the other thing, and I guess going back to the inspection part of it, set your standards when you sign the lease. We do property inspection. I just want to let you know. Tell them up front, we do property inspections quarterly or monthly is probably too often, but quarterly or semi-annually, annually. So they know up front somebody's going to come into their apartment. Should put it in your lease, yeah. Yeah. But you do have the right, you own the building. So you do have, or the house, you do have the right to build. Questions on hoarding? Isn't that the cutest dog you've ever seen in the world? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
It was mine, yes. That's crazy. Cutest dog in the world. Okay, service animals. Can any animal be a service animal? No. What animals can be service animals? No, absolutely not. Only dogs. Service animal, only dogs. Can be a certified service animal. It is discrimination. But it's good discrimination. Yeah, only dogs can be true service animals. Not talking emotional support, talking service animals. Known as they are trained to help people who have disabilities, and they're trained to, provide, you've seen the commercials where they go and open the refrigerator and grab somebody water or something, or they help people who have seizures. They know evidently when seizures are coming on, or they may be, the person is in a wheelchair or something. This is not an emotional support dog. This is a trained service animal. They have papers, they've been trained, they have a sign off on that. Are they a pet?
No.
No. Can you charge, do any of you charge pet rent when you rent? Please do. I would never walk away from my dog. And I would take that rent, and people will. It's a good way to make a little extra money. Can you charge pet rent?
Yeah.
Not on a service animal, you cannot. Not a dog, it's not an animal. Sorry. Hold me accountable. Can you charge a pet deposit?
Not on
Not on a service animal, you cannot. Can you say, and I had this come up in a class that I just taught. The lady says, my son is highly allergic to dogs. I don't want to rent to anyone with a dog. Okay, is that okay? Can you say no pets? Except service dogs. She said, can I turn them down if they come with a service dog? And you cannot. It is not legal to say no, just because it's a dog. I don't care if it's a service dog. They are not animals.
Can you ask that on the application?
If you have a service dog? I don't think so. No, I've never had that question, honestly. But, and generally they'll tell you, if they're gonna come to see the house, you're gonna know they have service animals.
That example you just gave, a woman's son was allergic,
Huh?
that was in a multi-family setting or what?
It's in a single family home.
So whose son was allergic?
Well, her son, I guess he does maintenance and stuff
Okay.
in the houses
Okay.
that she owns. And she said he's highly allergic to dogs. I don't know what to say. I mean, and that's what I told her. And everybody in the room was like, I don't know what to say either, because you can't discriminate.
Get a new service person.
Yeah, exactly. So that's probably the answer.
No, I have that situation.
Okay.
My oldest son is off the charts, cannot be around a dog. And he's got a rental property, and somebody comes in there with a dog, he can't go back in the house ever.
Yeah.
That's how bad he is.
But you can't say no, because it's not an animal.
So
If
that
they
really
walk-
means
If,
he's screwed then,
that's right.
if somebody comes in
Now,
with a.
how
service
often
animal.
will that happen? Probably not very. At
I
all, if
mean,
at all.
he had that situation.
But just realize it's not an animal, and if the person qualifies and wants to live there, that's why I use that statement. If they have a service dog, okay. But you can ask for papers, you can ask for their training papers, I think there's some type of certificate, I'm not sure exactly what it is. But you can ask for those. They need to provide that. So.
That's what you're inquiring about the medical.
Well, no, you're just asking for the training doc, that it is a certified service animal.
Most of those show the diagnosis of why it's an animal. When they get it, I mean, they can go on a website and it might say,
Well, I know that. But yeah, they have to have they have to be trained. Yes, ma'am.
So you can't charge pet rent for a service or anything like that.
Nor deposit. Yep, they're not an animal.
So they don't produce the paperwork. Thinking from.
Well, I can tell you, if they have a service, you can, yeah. But if they have a service animal, they're gonna be able to provide. Because they have a disability and that dog is used to help them with something, whatever that. Okay. Are there restrictions in Missouri? Pet restrictions? Can you charge upfront fees and monthly pet rent for normal dogs? Yes. Anything. Can you limit dogs? Yes. Can you limit the breeds?
Yes.
Yes. How many of you have, what breeds, do you not allow certain breeds or weights or anything? Okay,
Simple, Rottweiler.
okay. Uninsurable. That's a good way to put it. They are uninsurable. So if your dog and the pit bull bites me, you have State Farm insurance, I'm just making this up. It won't cover anything. Some dogs it will. But that's called aggressive breeds. And, you know, whatever that means. Some pit bulls are probably nicer than my food.
In a situation where a tenant has a pet and that pet bites the mailman, is there any way that comes back on the landlord?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, you may have to be an intermediary.
Sure.
Probably. Okay, we talked about breed restrictions. You might want to check with your cities. A lot of people are now going to, if the city doesn't allow it, we don't allow it. Chesterfield has some pretty good dog restrictions. I don't know about other cities. I just have to deal with them. So that may be something that you can use. It's always better, I hate to say, to blame someone else when they don't like it. I mean, seriously.
Absolutely.
So if you look it up in Baldwin or Florissant or whatever, and they do have restrictions, then you can always use those as a fallback. Assisted animal, that's what it has certified, it has papers, you're ready to go. Emotional pets, major different story. What do you need to claim that you have an emotional support animal? Can any animal be emotionally supported? Yeah, it can. I can have a snake and you say that, it helps me with my emotional state. This is where the problem lies, and I will tell you, this is starting to get addressed by everybody because it's so out of control. You'll notice that on airplanes, people used to be able to take emotional support animals in the cabin area. No longer can they do that. They only allow actual assistant dogs, service dogs that can ride in the cabin of the. So it's starting to take hold because people are just, they're out of control. Oh, well, you can't charge me because it's an emotional support dog. There are, yeah, they're right, you can't. You can't charge pet rent or anything for emotional support. But is it really an emotional support? You can actually ask for a note from their doctor or something that says they need an emotional support dog. Then you can confirm it with the doctor. They don't even have to tell you what it's for, but that they need. It is out of control. It is going to get back in control because the legislature is starting to talk about it. It's not on the books, but they're starting to talk about it because it's such a big deal. I mean, I can go online and for $45, I think, buy a certificate that says she's an emotional support dog. That's not really fair.
I've heard of another property manager, David Soto, who's on one of our supporting vendors, that they use a service, I forget the name of it, that will check out the paperwork. They will verify the service. So again, takes you out of the loop.
Yeah.
Because you're not saying no or disproving it.
They
It's
are.
a company that specializes
Yeah.
in getting the certificates, getting all the paperwork and saying, yes, qualifies, no, it doesn't.
Can you ask for vet records of a person that's moving in with a dog or cat or whatever?
Yeah.
Yes, you can. They're not protected. Saying they shouldn't be. My dog should be protected, but they're not. So yes, you can. Absolutely. But you can take pictures. We used to, some of them, we used to take pictures of dogs. You know, just so we knew who had what dog. When you have a lot of, but they make a lot of extra money for people when you start renting. So people are not gonna leave their pets behind. Who charges for pets? How much?
$50.
A month?
Yeah. Wow, okay.
300, security deposit,
Security or pet fee?
300 security deposit,
Okay,
and then $50 a month.
okay.
Wow. I'm missing out on that.
Pretty on the high side, yes?
I actually currently rent myself and I pay $50.
Okay, good. So 50 is the going deal. Yeah. Difference between security deposit and a fee? What's the difference? Security deposit is not your money. A fee, you take it and run. So it may be that you want to split up that 300, depending on what your profile is of your property, to keep some of that money and put 50% as the non-refundable and 50% as refundable. Gives you a little more money in your pocket.
From a practical experience, time and time I've taught me that if I have carpets in the house, I'm gonna have to replace them when they're gone. Especially cats, for some reason, that
So they spray.
extra hard to get out.
Yep.
I don't know if you see this or not, but it's say like no pets.
Oh, yeah. Not service animals. They're not pets. Yes, you can have no pets, no smoking. Yes, that would probably be yes. Yes, sir.
You said only dogs can be serviced.
Yes. Correct. Only dogs. It's on the books, it's on the law, in the law. Only dogs. Guess they don't think you can train cats well.
That's what for the cat.
They just won't wanna do that.
Huh?
They just won't wanna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions on service animals? Yes, sir.
Did you say you can't charge rent for an emotional support animal? Do they have, is that a certification too, you say?
Yeah, I can buy it on the internet for $45. But that's gonna change. I'm just telling you, that's coming. It's gonna change. Because it's so out of control. People are finally getting the clue, so to speak. Yes, ma'am? Did you have a question?
Yes, a service dog is not a pet. Is an emotional support animal a pet?
No, no. I think it is, but no.
So right now, just for clarifications, so emotional support animal is under the category of service animal.
Under the category of reasonable accommodation. It's not a service animal.
Right, not service animal, treated.
It, that confused me, but we do still reserve the right to not rent to emotional support.
I don't think so.
Okay, so then there's no rules effectively.
Yeah,
You could say no pets.
not a pet.
And there's nothing established, I mean.
They're working on it.
Yeah,
They're working. on it. I will say, because I've heard lots of rumblings from the apartment association about legislators talking, because they have legislative, like lobbyists and stuff in Jeff City. So they're talking. Hopefully they'll do it soon.
I remember for just the sake of my own interest, looking into the process of emotional support animals, it's akin to being an ordained minister. I mean, you can do it in 10
Yeah,
minutes on the internet.
Exactly. That's a good example. You can go online and I don't know what you have to take to be an ordained minister, but you can get your certificate online. Yeah. Which I did not know until somebody told me they had gotten theirs so they could marry someone. Okay, last one, renter's insurance. How many of you require renter's insurance? If you do not, you should. I'll just put that out there flat out. It is not out of the norm. It is very common. All apartments generally do it. You can't if it's low income. Can't if you get subsidized housing. And it only covers, it's a liability policy. That's all you can require. We do 100,000. Is that enough? No, probably not. But if you have a single family home, it might be because you don't have people stacked on top of each other where if there's water, it goes all the way down through the units. We do 100,000, it's very cheap. You cannot require them to have contents insurance, personal property insurance. We beg people to get that because when there's a fire, they always say it's our fault and we're gonna pay for all their belongings. No, sorry. Or flood, whatever.
My apartment complex flooded a couple of years ago.
It happens.
Okay, I understand people saying that they require this. We ran into, yep, they bought it, showed it to us. Next month, get the notice from the company, yep, they didn't pay it.
Okay.
And spend more time trying to chase that money down.
Well, you can alleviate that by going through, they have companies like ePremium. You get it through them, they will force place a policy if they let that policy lapse. And they still have to pay.
And then the tenant signs up with that company.
Yep, ePremium's the one, there are others, but that's the one I know, yes.
You could put that in your lease agreement, right?
Yep.
As a reason to evict if
Yep.
they choose not to.
Yep, or if they let the policy lapse, absolutely. Yep. And you should always be an additional insured on their certificate of insurance, on their deck page, so to speak. If you're an additional insured, you get a notice that they cancel the policy. Always want to be an additional, but you're missing out, honestly, if you don't require them.
What was the name of that?
ePremium,
I just,
and there are other companies, that's just, you'll get an idea if you go on their website.
we have it, you know, with that additional insurance for in case their dog does bite somebody. We don't get sued,
Right, you can do that,
extra protection
right,
for us
yeah.
as a landlord.
But please do renter's insurance. It is not out of the norm. Everybody that rents, unless it's subsidized housing, requires renter's insurance for almost every. And you know something, they don't have renter's insurance, you really want them living there anyway. I mean, seriously. Well, if they don't, then the house burns down, you're gonna charge them for the house, so they're not gonna pay them. At least you have $100,000 stuff. So if they have a kitchen fire and they burn up the kitchen, so to speak, that $100,000 would kick in to put your stuff back in place. Why would you want to file a claim on your insurance and make your insurance rate go up when they can have renter's insurance and then it doesn't affect your insurance? Because insurance is going up anyway, so don't help it out. But that is not out of the norm. You should require what you require is up to you. Minimum in apartments is 100,000. Some companies have 300,000. I guess it would depend on what it is. But single family homes, probably 100 would probably cover most everything. Just when you start stacking them, that stuff comes up. And you can, they can go through State Farm or Farmers or whatever they want. Or there are companies that just do liability only, and the E-Premium is one of those that specialize in rentals. And they will do liability only. Generally speaking, State Farm, Shelter, Farmers, whatever, they don't do a policy without contents. You must have some type of personal property insured if you get a policy.
My shelter guys said we could pay that and then put it in their rent.
You can,
Pay it on behalf of.
you can. If you want to up the rent. I just think it just saves us a lot of money. A kitchen fire is easy, $40,000 to $50,000, $60,000. And you don't want to pay your $25,000 deductible or whatever your deductible is, and then have to pay the rest of it as well. And it will make your insurance rates go up. Okay. All right, so I am done with this. Let me. Oh, yes, you can require it. What does it cover? Just your property. Does not cover contents. And they need to know that up front. I almost beat that into their heads when they move in. This does not cover contents or personal property. And you cannot require them to have personal property. That's their business. That's their stuff. But when they have a fire, I can tell you they're going to sometimes to you if they don't have. You expect you to have.
So it's liability is not optional in your opinion, and then the personal property would be up to them.
That's to them.
Good idea.
It's a great idea.
Right, but it's up to them.
Yeah. And they say, oh, I'll get $10,000 in coverage. And I don't have a big closet, but I bet I have $10,000 worth of stuff in my closet. Huh? I'm not even gonna say what I have in my face, but you never know. So, people think it's amazing how fast personal property adds up when you have to replace it. And understand do understand that a rental policy, a liability policy is an actual cash value policy. It's not a replacement policy. Known as, if there's depreciation, they're not gonna pay for they're only gonna pay for the depreciated item. They're not gonna pay for full replacement. Generally speaking, that's a rental policy. But anything else? Yes, sir.
So you have full insurance on your properties, plus you require that they have.
Absolutely.
Insurance. Do you pay less because you require?
Probably. I mean, I don't work those numbers, but yes, probably.
Okay.
You might want to check into that. Because you take that burden off of you. And I hate to say, renters are notorious for doing, may I say, stupid things? It's not their property. So they're not quite as
Concerned.
concerned or
Yes,
careful.
careful.
Careful. There you go. Careful about what they do because they don't think it's theirs. They don't care. And a lot of them, and maybe not in single family homes as much, but a lot of them are young. They've never lived on their own before. So maybe not in rental homes, but they don't know. They'll do crazy things.
Well, is there an issue then about the fires?
Well, that's for the fire department to determine. I mean, I will tell you that the highest probability of a fire in a rental is what?
Grease fire in the kitchen.
Cooking. Cooking has gone down the list. Cooking is first, candles are second. Now, that's gone down too with the invention of the glass, candles in the glass jar. Because it used to be we had a lot of candles. Also, the getting rid of curtains and going to blinds. But I will tell you, and I didn't bring this with me, but you should get on YouTube and look at the Rawson report on fire and how much faster fires burn today than they did a long time ago. It used to be with the type of material that was in furniture, the way houses were constructed. I live in an old home. And so I have lots of small rooms. New homes don't have small rooms. They have fewer big rooms, a lot more air. They burn fast. The stuff they make furniture out of burns much faster. It used to be you had 30 minutes to get out before fire really took over. Today you have 3 to 4 minutes. And that's true. It's amazing. You can see it if you look at the Rawson report on YouTube. It's amazing how fast things burn.
And you put in your lease that your tenants aren't allowed to burn candles in the unit?
Probably not. I don't know that you could do that. I guess you could,
Oh, it's still in my
Yeah.
last one.
you know.
I have had issues, not a fire necessarily, but just because of all the soot, I didn't realize that one tenant, they were in the part,
Yep.
this house for 10
Kind of like
years.
smoking.
They had candles everywhere apparently, and my painter brought it to my attention. He had to seal
Yep.
all the walls with multiple coats of sealer before he could even start painting, because there were such stains on the walls from the soot. from the
Yep.
candles.
Yep, they'll seal them.
Those
before
are
you
cheap
paint. And
candles,
also-
he said.
Oh, I don't know about
The
that.
Walmart candles, so they were very
All right. Anybody have any questions on the presentation? Just a little bit about who I work for. I work for Blue Sky Disaster Restoration. I can only tell you whether it's Blue Sky or someone else. We have 4 divisions: roofing, mitigation, the construction part, and then environmental. We do all abatement, we do flood. We do all that good stuff, biohazard. But the one thing I will tell you is form a relationship with a company that you know and all of your people know who to call when you have something happen. The faster you get there, the less damage it will be. I always say, stop the bleeding. We want to stop the bleeding. The faster you get somebody there to turn off the water, to start sucking up water, to making sure that things are put in a place where they can't get further damage, the better you will be, the less insurance cost it will be. It will help you out. When you have to call around or you have 5 people knocking on your door because they want your business, because they chase fires, have somebody that you know you can trust, that you can call. Because that will save you a lot of money. And actually, it'll save you a lot of time and heartache to know that you call this person, he knows who you are, he knows where he's going, he or she. They know where they're going, they know what to do, and get it done. Because if you don't stop the bleeding, the cost just continues to go up and people's lives continue to get.
Yeah, I know what they're doing.
So, and I will take, I have some brochures up here if you'd like. See it, we're a national company and with local presence, you always see our same dolls. We were purchased by Blue Sky 4 years ago. We were United Services before, family-owned business for 33 years. So, you know, we have a stake in the community and we like to give back. Today was our day of giving. And we do that all across the country. Every office does a day of giving before Thanksgiving where they go out and they may do a food pantry. We do support Angel's Arms here and, you know, take toys and whatever they're in need of for Christmas. So, it's a great organization. Do we make mistakes? Of course we do. We never say because, but we fix it and hopefully do it very quickly and very professional. So, yeah, maintenance guys.
Okay, well, thank you, Sharice.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you know, okay.
Yeah.
So based on some things that we learned tonight, if we wanted to change our lease, can we have to wait until it renews, or can we add something as an addendum? No,
Wait.
wait.
Everything's active.
I am. good.
Teresa, we have, I don't know, Lloyd, we have about 5 minutes or so you can talk about property managers and.
Sure.
You've got a lot of experience in that area and some of us are getting to the age where maybe we want to hire some property managers at some point before we hit 100, you know?
100 years old or 100 pounds?
Well, maybe either one.
Okay.
But, if you could spend a little time, I think we've got a little time left, if you don't mind.
What would you like to know?
I guess what you should look for, certifications. Certifications would be one thing, how many years of experience, I mean, what kind of questions did you ask them? I generally have had issues, not that I've really used them, but I've heard over the years that there's more good than bad. I'm not saying they're all bad, but how do we find out the good ones? Because, I mean, I've got 2 kids and eventually they're gonna get our property, and I can tell you right now, one of them doesn't want anything to do with property management.
I
And,
can understand that.
the other one can, but, just,
That's a hard question. I mean, it really depends on what you're looking for them to do. If you want them to just manage and leave, and you're not looking at the financial side, you're looking for a different type of manager than if you're looking for a person who can take care of everything. Finances, the paying the bills, everything. But, I ask questions like, what was the hardest situation you've ever dealt with residents? And I want to know how they answered. What was, the worst situation you had with the supervisor? I hate to say that, but I do ask them. What do you think you need from a supervisor? I ask more questions like that. You can read a resume and see what they've done. But to ask questions like, I work for Mills Properties here in St. for 10 years. Bruce or Kirk or anybody, but my questions were always related to when I said, what do you need from your supervisor? If they told me I want to see you or talk to you every day, that probably was not the person for me. Because they wanted their hand held. And I had, unfortunately, too much to do that. But things like that, so that that they can function on their own, because that's really the key. If your sons don't want to be involved, and you want somebody to run that side, you want somebody that can work on their own, that can do things like that. Having the knowledge is great. If they have their CAM certification, that's a wonderful thing. Certified Apartment Manager. It's a designation a national designation through National Apartment Association, conducted by the local chapter here. And that pretty much gives them a well-rounded information, whether it's financial, risk management, maintenance, leasing, marketing, HR. But you want somebody that has a well-rounded and has handled a lot of things.
what kind of percentages of a monthly rent would you say is reasonable? Depending on what, let's say you want them to ramrod all the potential maintenance and things that break down, hiring the contractors, bringing them in. And so basically you just collect a check each month.
Right.
You don't have to do anything else and not finance them, but you collect the money still.
Right.
And pay them a monthly fee to do that.
Are you asking me what you're gonna pay them?
What kind of percentage do you pay them? I know for maintenance, it could be whatever it is, but.
Well,
Depending on what.
I'm not sure about the percentage.
I mean-
We paid a salary. Plus we gave incentives and or bonuses based on,
Well,
we did on.
what do you charge the landlord, the owner of the property?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. For third-party management,
Yes,
if in apartments, now, I don't know about single family, so please
Well,
don't quote me on
you
that.
got people that got apartments.
Yeah, third party probably paid between 3% and 5% of monthly cash collected. Not in single family, that's what I said, that's why I made the caveat. Because we may collect 100,000 or 250, 500,000 a month on bigger properties, maybe more than that. So it was based on a percentage of what cash was collected each month. That, I don't think that would work in single family. So I don't know what you pay in single family, but
Usually 10%.
10%, okay. That's not that bad. Yeah. So, you know, the higher the dollar, the lower the percentage. So. And if you're third party, you're hiring somebody to manage, you generally pay a little less than you would to yourself, if you want to pay yourself. Because Bruce always paid more on his properties than the one that we have for third party. Because really, it's paying yourself. So it's the way you tax it. So yeah, I don't know about single family, but 10%.
I've heard 10%.
What other questions? Okay, I hope you found this informative. I hope that you grabbed a couple of things. I appreciate your time. If you have an interest and would like one of the brochures that I have, I'd be happy to get one to you.
Well, say what your phone number is for people.
Yeah, it's on here, I think. Is it?
I don't think everybody would ship one.
Yep, no, I'm gonna hand out however many I have. How about that?
But for the people on the Zoom.
Oh, yeah. So our 1-800 number is 1-800-266-5677. You can get any office with that number. It will, it's a 24-hour in-house answering service that will route your calls and call the person if you need help in the middle of the night. They call them out and they deal with it. You're laughing in the middle of the night?
No, I'm saying that's why I have a property manager.
That's right.
That she takes care of.
That's right.
What's the number again?
Sure, it is, 800-266-5677. This one has,
Is that on the business card or the?
it's on the business, Angie's business card. Angie's replaced me when I kind of went part-time. So her card is in there because she does all the real estate multifamily. She's actually a real estate agent as well. Not that that matters, but
Okay, thank you, Sharice.
Thank you.
I'm sure she'll hang around here for a little bit, to answer any individual questions. We got something else comes up. Anyway, thank you all for coming out tonight. I did want to mention, we don't meet in December, so we'll be back either here, probably downstairs, the third Tuesday in January. And also, yeah, okay, a lot of landlords, as we know, watch this, and we like to have, we don't like the picture with the border. We don't want to have this room looking like that when we all leave, so we ask you all to pick up your things, there's a trash can in the back, there's a trash can by the door. So we can all just pick up after ourselves and leave this room, because we're renters here tonight, so. We want to leave this, as we would like our renters to leave their units our units when they leave. So, thanks again.
thank you
Everybody
guys
have
for
a
your
good-
attention. I appreciate it.
Thank you.